Major updates have been released in the NBA Youngboy case, which is now resulting into some terrible news for NBA Youngboy. We need to discuss this, so let's get straight into it. Now, just yesterday at the time of this recording, it was announced by the court that a judge has now ruled that NBA Youngboy is too reckless and too dangerous as a human being to be released on house arrest or even just to be released on bail until the court trial starts. NBA Youngboy was indicted by a grand jury on March 10th and charged with one count of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, as well as one count of possession of a firearm that's not registered on the National Firearms Registration List. Now, due to those official charges, a judge actually deemed NBA Youngboy not suitable to be out on the streets until his trial starts, which means he will be sitting in a jail cell until his trial starts for his prison sentence. Now, in the court that day, two photos were actually shown of NBA Youngboy to the jury. In these photos, NBA Youngboy is actually seen holding a firearm while taking a photo with a minor, as well as sitting on top of a car recording a music video while flashing around a firearm, which actually had a magazine inside of it. After the court saw these photos, that's when the judge actually quickly denied NBA Youngboy's bond request and actually took it into further consideration of never letting him released until trial starts. Now, law enforcement, they want NBA Youngboy and they want him very badly. If you don't believe me, they literally had an operation team made just for NBA Youngboy, and this operation was called Never Free Again. Now, this operation was created by law enforcement and the FBI to basically put NBA Youngboy behind bars for 10 years in prison for the crimes that he committed. So this starts from NBA Youngboy being arrested around 14 to 16 times within the last few years. You can literally make a scrapbook with his mugshots. It's honestly crazy. Now, when NBA Youngboy was told about the entire law enforcement having an operation made just for specifically him, he ended up releasing a message from behind bars which says, and I quote, "I can leave my kids millions of dollars to divide, but I can't give them the time they truly deserve. Nobody understands me. They never did. Sometimes I don't even understand myself, but that's fine because I'm okay. I ain't looking for you to feel sorry for me, but I do ask for one thing, and that's for you to let me suffer in peace and tell Miss Wendy Williams that I say she has a good soul and that she's a beautiful woman. I can see through all of the bad comments thrown at her. Tell her to count her blessings and stay in good spirit. Sincerely, NBA Youngboy." So while the law enforcement are currently trying to lock NBA Youngboy up for 10 years, it's now looking as if he will be sentenced to an even longer prison sentence, and here is why. So NBA Youngboy was arrested for these charges last year, and he was ended up being granted bail until the trial started. Well, the case then started and NBA Youngboy was a no-show. He didn't show up to court or even turn himself into jail. He was officially on the run. This then meant that NBA Youngboy had a warrant out for his arrest, and knowing his prior's record of being 14 to 16 times, law enforcement, they were not going to be taking this lightly at all. This also made the FBI hop on the case as well for the search of NBA Youngboy, which then created the operation team Never Free Again. Now, this search started by the FBI looking over the streets near his house, waiting for him to come out of his driveway or even just his house to his front yard. NBA Youngboy was then seen exiting his house inside of his all-black Mercedes. That's when the FBI then followed him onto the highway, and this ended up starting a crazy high-speed chase on the highway. Now at first though, NBA Youngboy was instructed by the FBI agent that was behind him to pull his car over to the side of the road. Allegedly, NBA Youngboy did just that. He ended up pulling his car over to the side of the road, and right when the FBI agent was about to come out of his vehicle, that's when NBA Youngboy ended up flooring it down the highway. Allegedly, he was hitting crazy speeds of over 100 miles an hour, but while going down the highway, NBA Youngboy then ran into some traffic, and it kind of made him drift off of the highway and ended up hitting the regular street. Now, while on the run from the FBI, NBA Youngboy then hopped out of his vehicle and started a run on foot until sadly, he was caught in the process of running through a fan's backyard by an FBI agent who was chasing right behind him the entire time. Now, NBA Youngboy, he was originally arrested as he was spotted in a music video a while ago by law enforcement, where he was then seen flashing around a firearm as well as doing things in a neighborhood that he should not have been doing. Now, allegedly, after law enforcement ended up getting notice that Youngboy's in the area with a bunch of other men flashing around firearms, law enforcement then raided where he was at. 14 firearms were found in the process, alongside some substances found inside of NBA Youngboy's possession, and he was later arrested in the process. So right off the bat, this was already enough charges to possibly have Youngboy in prison for several years. Allegedly, NBA Youngboy will be catching 1 to 3 years per firearm that turns out to be his out of the 14. The law enforcement would figure out which is his and what's not by inspecting the firearms, looking for fingerprints. If the fingerprints are the same as NBA Youngboy's that are on the firearm, then an investigation would start then, trying to figure out if he purchased it, how he got it, and where it came from. And that's not to mention that the FBI high-speed chase on the highway that went down, that again is going to be adding charges, as some innocent people could have gotten involved in a very serious way. It could have led to something very tragic, and even that alone could land NBA Youngboy in prison for around 5 years. Many mistakes were made by NBA Youngboy, and you can say that it is his fault, but again, it's just how NBA Youngboy has lived his life up to this point. NBA Youngboy is looking at a minimum of 20 years in prison allegedly for several charges, and we still have not heard the official ruling about the high speed with the FBI or anything in that nature, so we are still awaiting information upon that, and it could be much worse for NBA Youngboy. At this point, we could be saying goodbye to NBA Youngboy forever, as NBA Youngboy could be getting sentenced to around, my guess is 15 years in prison. Let me know your guys' opinion down below in the comments, and if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It has been District Trending, and I'm out. Peace.